Hey everybody, how you doing? It is Sunday. I'm a little late. Apologize. It's 7:01, so I'm not that late. I got my winter hat on because it's chilly outside today. Or tonight. It's like 30 something out here. I don't like being cold at all. So I got my winter hat on. Well, hope y'all had a good weekend. Hope y'all didn't work too hard during the week. It's really getting down to the wire here. We got 9 days left till the elections. And I will talk about that here in a minute, but other stuff to talk about too. So let's get down to it and do this. So the first thing I want to talk about is Trump had at one of his, I think it was at the debate he had with Harris, had said that crime rates were up, and the moderator said, no, they're not. He said, according to the FBI statistics, they were down. And then he was like, no, that's wrong. They are up. Well, guess what? The FBI recently revised data on violent crime from 2022 and upwards. Originally reporting that it showed a 2.1 decrease in violent crimes from 21 to 22. The new numbers now show a 4.5% increase. So he wasn't lying. Once again, you have the moderators who just should keep their mouths shut and just make sure everything goes by the rules and not fact check them because they don't know what they're talking about. He was right. Crime rate has gone up. Violent crime has gone up 4.5%. Critics have latched onto the revision as proof of exploding crime and high-level cover-ups. I tend to believe it. If they're trying to say that the crime rate hasn't increased, and it has, and they say when he brings it up, he's lying, I'm not sure that's a lie. I think they're covering it up. I completely agree with him. And I agree with that statement. Excuse me. So crime rates are up. And you don't need to be told that. You can just watch the news or, heck, look at Facebook. There's things going on all the time all over the place. I don't need the FBI to tell me, oops, we messed up. They are increasing. Sorry. I don't trust them anymore anyway after all the crap they've pulled. Can't believe anything. I mean, it's sad but true, but I'd sooner believe a weatherman before I believe an FBI agent or the FBI at this point. Which really isn't saying much either because weathermen aren't right all the time either. Yeah, I guess they're more right than the FBI is. So yeah, crime rates are up. So that kind of brings up, what I want to talk to here for a little bit before I get into the election and politics. Is every time I look on social media or anywhere, you see these videos of like people rushing into stores and ripping out, clothing or what was it, iPhones I saw. And everybody's standing there watching, and these people steal hundreds of thousands of dollars at a time and leave. And it was like, oh, it's only shoplifting. It's not really a big thing. Shoplifting is the acceptable crime because it doesn't hurt anybody. There's no victims. So let people steal what they want to steal when they want to steal. It's not a big deal. It's not hurting anybody. Last year alone, shoplifting around the world cost retailers $13 billion. $13 billion was stolen. If it were a legitimate job, it would be on the Forbes 500 list of most profitable businesses in the world. 1 in 11 people will commit that crime at some point in their lives, but only 10 million people have been caught doing it. Only 1 in 48 shoplifters are caught, and only about half of those are turned over to the police for prosecution. So it's not so much a victimless crime because do you actually think that the stores are eating that $13 billion? You think they're, it's the cost of doing business. We're fine. No, they're making me and you pay for that. Shrink is what the retail term for theft is, or loss. Shrink is the difference between what you have on paper and what you have on hand. So that causes the shrink. They make up for shrink by pricing. Don't think for 1 second that out of the kindness of their heart, they just eat it and that's it. No, they pass it on to the consumer. That's why they're not so well, I don't say they're not concerned. They're not really doing as much as they can or as they should be to kind of curb it. Like I said, it's the acceptable crime. I mean, you have single mothers, housewives, all sorts of people who are shoplifting because it's not really a crime. It's not a big deal. There are six. I'm sorry. In 2026, projections indicate shoplifting could cost retailers over $150 billion in 2026. And then again, it's not going to be them that's affecting. It'll be us. The price of things will go up to cover the shrink. Don't think that it won't. I did this for a living for loss prevention for 10 years, 10, 15 years way back in the day. I was a district manager for a company. I had all of Maryland, some of Pennsylvania, and some of West Virginia. I had people under me working for me. And I will tell you right now, companies do not eat that loss. We don't. They pass it to you. And I have been involved with catching everybody all the way from priests and lawyers and judges to, like I said, single housewives. Single moms, housewives, priests. I've caught everyone. It's an acceptable crime socially. Most shoplifters get away with the crime. I can tell you that too, but many are caught in the act. Barely over half, 52% of shoplifters say they got away with it. With 48 saying they were caught red-handed. Of those caught, 33% were warned, 24% were arrested, and 22% were banned from the store. When I did this, there was rules. If it was over $100, you had to call the police. If they had no ID, you had to call the police. If they were out of state, you had to call the police. And back in that time, I dealt with the state troopers, so they arrested everybody. If we called them out, they were arrested, no matter the price. I'm sorry. And everybody was stopped. There was no, well, you get to go. There's something called civil demand in Maryland, where I worked, where you could charge double the price of the merchandise that was stolen up to, but not over $1,000. So theoretically, if single mom Karen came in and stole $40 worth of makeup, we could charge her up to $1,000 in fines without even having to go to court that she would have to pay, or it could be put on her credit. She could be civilly sued, or we could press criminal charges at that point. Back then, theft was not as bad. I'm not saying it was better, but it wasn't like this. Although the shoplifting rates across the U.S. are up 24% compared to last year, it has only risen 10% compared to with 2019. So it makes no sense to me. It's up. It's up at least 10%, which is, like I said, the reason why they're estimating in 2026, shoplifting will go over the $150 billion mark in theft lost to retailers or other mom and pop shops. 68.4% of small businesses, and a small business is any sort of business with less than 50 employees, report losing at least $1,000 a month in theft loss. 22.4% report at least $2,000 in losses. If you're running a mom and pop shop, your overhead, everything is streamlined. You've got everything on a budget. Losing $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year, or $24,000 a year plus, that could really affect you. That could shut your business down. That's why I've never understood why people are okay with shoplifting. I'm not talking about the kid that takes a candy bar or the little girl that takes, a thing of lipstick. I'm talking about the adults, people who know better, that have no problem with it. I don't know. When I was first started out, I can't tell you how many kids I caught shoplifting, and the parents were yelling at me, telling me it was my fault, that we shouldn't put the candy where the registers are. We shouldn't put toys on the low shelves. It's our fault. And we're not talking about little 6, 7-year-old kids. We're talking about 14 and 15-year-old kids. It wasn't their fault. It was everybody else's fault. It was the company's fault. Even back then, there were moron libs that were looking to blame everybody else for their problems other than themselves. So that's not new. There are idiots everywhere, all the time. It's just sometimes they feel more vocal and they feel more empowered. But yeah, Shoplifting is not victimless. I'm telling you right now, like I said before, they're charging you for the loss. These companies are. They're not eating it. They're not writing off. There's no insurance for theft. Shrink is shrink, and they have to make that up somehow, so they pass that on to you. There are companies now, I know Home Depot and I believe Lowe's, do not even say a word to shoplifters. So if someone were to go in and load up with power tools, a whole cart, say, $10,000, $15,000 worth of merchandise, they won't stop them. They won't talk to them. And in some locations, they are not allowed to call the police on that person. So they can just walk out with it. And then you wonder why, you've got $25 screwdrivers or $100 hammers. That's why. They're going to make sure they don't lose any money. You're going to pay for it. I know where I used to work, and I don't want to mention the name because they don't do nothing for me now. We were carried handcuffs and other things, and when we stopped you, it wasn't so much a question. It was more of how do you want to come back in? And most people, are embarrassed and they don't want to make a big deal out of it. Like, oh, okay. Then you have the professional shoplifters, and that may sound funny, but there are professional rings of shoplifters. They usually steal your high ticket items or baby formula or diapers, laundry detergent. When it used to be big, DVDs, anything small with a high retail value, they would steal it and go sell it on the street, or they'd go to flea markets and they would sell it there. But these people, that was their job. They would spend 8 hours a day and they would hit every store in their area for certain items they know they could get a high street value on. I was involved with helping bust up a ring where I live, and we all said and done, I think the total ring was charged with over $700,000 in theft in a matter of 6 months. And it's usually not just one person. It's usually teams of two that go into a store, but the ring's usually like 8 to 10 people, and they work in pairs, sometimes in threes. And they're trained. They actually scope out stores before they go in, find out where the employees are, and if there's cameras and things like that. Then they go in and can clean out a store. I don't know if that still goes on because, like I said, I haven't done that for years. I'm not involved with it anymore, so I don't deal with it. But I can imagine with today's economy, it's probably more. I usually use shoplifting stats as a barometer. People don't really steal what they need. They steal what they want, like makeup, vanity items, things like that they can't afford now. So when theft is up, that usually means your economy is tanking because people can't afford these luxury items anymore. That wouldn't be luxury items any time of the year. Makeup, maybe a higher brand of detergent, things like that. People will start to steal more when it becomes too expensive. So if theft is up, shoplifting is up, that kind of coincides with the economy and jobs. And then you throw in the illegal aliens into the mix that are in cities that don't want to spend their money or don't want to spend our money because they're sending it home to people. They're shoplifting. They're in there stealing. And I think it's California and a couple other places that if it's under $1,000 in theft, they don't arrest you for it. I don't even think they'll come out and take a report for it anymore. So pretty much, while it's not decriminalized, it's just accepted at this point. And I'm sure we've all seen the videos where people run into the stores, groups of people ripping, coats and pants and things off the racks and running out the door with them. Those are not so much professional. That's just a smash and grab. But they can really you figure on an average, that kind of thing can probably take out $10,000, $15,000 worth of items out of the store that the company's lost, which now you're going to pay for. It's ridiculous, but that's how it goes. So when they talk about crime and people go, violent crimes up, well, that's important. It's the little stuff we need to keep an eye on. Petty crimes, theft, shoplifting. When these things go up, that's an indication that the economy is not doing well because people don't have money and they're panicking. So they do what they got to do to get what they need. And that involves stealing. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's right at all. I'm just saying that's how it is. So yeah, shoplifting is up. Like I said, they're saying by the year 2026, it could cost retailers over $150 billion. Billion, not million, billion with a B. It's a lot of money that's going to get passed back to us. And we see stores closing all the time or, shutting their doors or they can't hire people or things like that. And this is what happens as a result. When you can't get qualified people to work in a store, you can't staff it. you're going to have theft. And there's also, I think they said 35 to 40% of theft is also internal. It's employees stealing, again, for the same reasons. They're not making enough. And I'm not excusing it. Some people just steal because they want to steal. But a vast majority of people steal things that they need or want, and they can no longer afford. That's why I say it's usually like a good barometer of what's going on in the economy, is to watch those things. It's pretty sad, but it keeps some people in business. Not that I'm applauding that, but that's how it goes. All right, let's pay the bills real quick, and I'll be right back.
Since the beginning of time, all living creatures rely on the sun's source of natural light to grow and to help promote overall wellness. We are all light beings. The patches are all natural and drug-free that uses the body's own natural light to help promote general health and wellness. How it works: simply place the patch on specific points on your body and where the patch is placed on your skin. It reflects back into the body when it's tapped into its own flow of natural energy, which in turn creates the GHK-Cu copper peptide, which rejuvenates your cells and gives you a more younger, healthier you.
Looks like it's good stuff. If anybody tries that, let me know. Let me know if it works, because I got old man's body. I beat this thing up for like 52 years. So if that stuff works, let me know, because if it does, I might try it. All right. So we talked about theft and what kind of theft is kind of or crimes are kind of a barometer for the economy. And that's just my opinion. If you don't agree, that's fine. I'm not going to say you're right and I'm wrong, or I'm wrong and you're right, anything like that. It's just one more indicator of what's going on in the economy. I don't know if you live in Maryland when you're watching this, or if you will be watching this and you live in Maryland. Little Larry Hogan has another commercial out where he's appealing to Democrats and pretty much endorsing Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Pretty much. He has his campaign sign up next to Harris and Walt's sign, and circles Harris on their sign and circles his name on his, and says, "I endorse this message." That pretty much sounds like an endorsement of Harris to me. And that's little Larry Hogan, who claims to be a Republican, but he's not. I've talked about him a lot of times, and I don't want to give him any more free airtime. But I think a lot of people out there, including Larry Hogan, and especially those people who still say they're Republican and support Larry Hogan, probably need to hear this. It's the definition of a Republican. A Republican is a member of the Republican Party of the U.S., a member of one of the two major political parties of the U.S. that is usually associated with reduced taxation, limited government, limited regulation of business, finance, industry, education, and policing, with strong national defense, and with the opposition to abortion, affirmative action, gun control, and policies and laws that are viewed as a challenge to traditional social and family hierarchies and structure. That's what the definition, the strict definition of a Republican is. Again, if you live in Maryland, none of that applies to Larry Hogan. He's pro-choice, anti-gun, has never really referred to himself as a Republican, has always referred to himself as an independent, and that has said time and time again he's not going to support Trump if he's elected, and that Republicans cannot count on his vote if he's elected to Senate. So I would love to have one of these sheep Republicans to come on here and tell me why they still think that he is a Republican, Larry Hogan, because he's not. He isn't. I mean, I could have told you that without even seeing that commercial. I knew, just because I live in Maryland and I've been here through when he was governor, and his reign shutting down businesses and schools, but letting liquor stores and Planned Parenthood stay open during COVID, setting up snitch lines so you could call in your neighbors and rat them out if they weren't following our dear leaders' laws, things like that. So if you do watch this and you're a Larry Hogan supporter, let me know, and then I'll I'll even have you on next Sunday so we can talk about why you still think he's a Republican. I just don't see how anybody could say that at this point anymore. But that's just me. I mean, when you say that Maryland has the strictest gun laws in the country and you're going to work to make them even stricter, that kind of screams liberal. Doesn't scream Republican to me. And that's what Larry Hogan has said. When you go from, pro life to pro choice because you think you can get more votes, that pretty much screams liberal to me. Not so much Republican. When you shut down schools and businesses, that kind of screams liberal. When you force masks on kids, force the jabs on kids, and say to hell with the Constitution, that's pretty much liberal to me. But you have moron Republicans out there that are only concerned about the R after the name, not anything other than that, and they will vote for anybody that's propped up in front of them as long as that letter matches what they've been told to follow. That's why I always tell you, principle over party. It's the best way to go. It's the safest way to go. It's the only way you know that you're going to be true to your values is if you do, vote principle over party. Speaking of morons, Kamala Harris has denounced Donald Trump as a fascist who wants to unchecked power and a military personally loyal to him. Now let's go back before the first assassination attempt on Trump. He was shot, and then everybody got on the news and said we need to tone down the rhetoric. Even Kamala Harris, she said, "I'm in this election, in this race for many reasons, including to fight for our democracy. And in a democracy, there is no place for political violence. We can and should have healthy debates and discussions and disagreements, but not resort to violence to resolve these issues." So that's what she said after the first assassination attempt of Trump. Then she's gone on to say that, Trump lamented not having generals who swore loyalty to him in the same manner as military commanders served Adolf Hitler in Nazi Germany. Anybody that Dems don't like automatically become a Nazi. And if you're important enough, you become Hitler. To me, that's insulting because I'm Jewish. Trump has never set up death camps. Trump hasn't executed 6 million plus people based on a religion. He hasn't invaded other countries. He hasn't done all sorts of things that Hitler. He hasn't done anything remotely close to what Hitler's done. But these idiots will continually say he's Hitler. He's Hitler. He's a Nazi. He's not. He's just someone they don't like. And they don't have the intelligence to articulate that enough. So they just go, Nazi. Anybody I don't like is a Nazi. And there you go. So, yeah, she's all about toning down the rhetoric and having, what'd you say, healthy debates and discussions and disagreements. But now it's back to you're a Nazi, you're a fascist, you want unchecked power. It doesn't stop with them. They constantly and will always come up with reasons why the rules shouldn't apply to them. And that's just how it goes. And then people just seem to think that's okay. Nobody says anything. And if you do, then you're a fascist and a Nazi. It's almost like you don't even want to mess with it. Like, let them say what they want to say because I don't want to deal with the BS. And I can't deal with every time I open my mouth, I don't like, I got 35 people screaming and yelling, you're fat. I mean, I don't care personally. I laugh. I personally don't care. But some people do. Some people are easily intimidated by that type of stuff. I'm definitely not intimidated by that at all. Never have been, never will be. Just nature of this beast. So you have her talking her double standard. I mean, if it weren't for double standards, she'd have none at all. I just don't believe I know why the media's not calling out because they're on the bag for her. But if there was an honest media, they'd be asking her, hey, you just said that this shouldn't be happening, and now you're doing it again. You're calling him a Nazi, saying he's a fascist, saying, what did she say? Unchecked power. Reacted to or has people marching up front saying the same things, but she doesn't want political violence. What does she think this will lead to? If you continually call someone Hitler, you continually call someone, Nazi or fascist, or they just want unchecked power, they're a threat to democracy. There are sick people out there, mainly liberals, that will act on that. That to them, feelings are all that matters. And if they feel like this is true, they're going to act on it, and they're going to go kill the Nazi or take out Hitler or destroy the fascist. And then we'll have the same talking heads march out in front of the TV. Oh, we need to stop with the violence, stop with the rhetoric. We all need to get along. And it's all bullshit. They are probably just as happy to hear that he gets people trying to get him as anybody who would want to kill Hitler, because I don't think they believe that he's Hitler, but they know other people out there that listen to them do. So they talk to them when they say these things and try to incite people. So I don't know why they get, shocked when something happens towards Trump. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this person tried to do that. Why can't you believe it? You've been pushing this into their head for years. People are starting to act on what you've said. What do you mean you don't believe it? It's crazy. Not in this country. Yes, in this country, because you're Kamala Harris and everybody like her are pushing this narrative, and it's going to get somebody hurt. Again, I mean, how many people have to die because liberals are insane? I mean, there was 2 people that died at the first attempt on Trump, just there to watch and got killed by some sick twist who would listen to the media and believe that Trump was Hitler and he needed to die. I mean, I think Camilla should have to apologize publicly for what she said, but she won't. But they'll demand it, and so Republicans will demand it. If a Republican says something like that, oh, he's got to apologize. He's got to apologize. She's got to apologize for that. We'll bend over backwards to make sure that the mental patients are happy. But when the mental patients get out of hand, we just sit back and watch. And, hey, there's nothing we can do about this. So why even try? It's really, really getting deep. That's why I call it's getting deep out there. It really, truly is. There's a double standard. And unfortunately, there are too many spineless Republicans who are in office or running central committees or running these clubs or whatever you want to call it. And they won't stand up. They will not stand up and say, look, Harris, you can't say this anymore. You yourself said a couple of months ago this shouldn't be said. Now you're saying it. You need to apologize publicly. Something needs to be done. But no, they'll just sit back and let her do it. But let Trump say something off color or call her stupid or something like that. Then the whole world's in an uproar. He can't do that. He's got to apologize. That's not mature. Blah, 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 blah. I don't think Trump has ever called anybody a Nazi or anybody a fascist. I think he's called them like stupid, dumb, ignorant. I mean, things like that, like personal, but he's never called anybody a Nazi to my knowledge, has never called anybody a fascist. And he probably never would, because that's ridiculous. And that he probably understands that's what gets people worked up. That's what gets those fringe members of society worked in. They get crazy. They hear it over and over and over by people apparently that they like people, supporters of Harris, hear it repeatedly that he's a fascist, he's a Nazi, he's like Hitler. And they hear it again and again and again, and they start to believe it. And these mental patients who run solely on feeling think they got to do something about it. Well, he's going to destroy the country. I got to kill him. He's just like Hitler. That's what Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and all these other people are telling me. They wouldn't lie to me. I got to go do something. I got to save the country. I got to save the world. And I guarantee it's what these sick people are thinking. And as long as this is allowed to happen on one side that goes unchecked, it will continue to happen and it'll get worse. And eventually, like I said, more people are going to get hurt. We need to stop saying it's not okay for one side while the other side doesn't. If it's not good, it's not good for everybody. And it needs to stop. And I agree, this is not good. I would be saying the same thing if Donald Trump was calling Kamala Harris a Nazi or calling her Hitler. I would be saying he can't be saying that. People are going to take that to heart and they're going to act on it. But I guess it's just Democrats. They can do it. I mean, like you got people like Larry Hogan in Maryland who haven't condemned it at all. But as soon as Trump opens his mouth, he's screaming and yelling. That's the mentality we're working with now. That Trump derangement syndrome. People are just, no matter what he does, it's wrong. If a dog dies in my neighborhood, somebody around here would probably blame Donald Trump. That's how ridiculous this is getting. How it's, put on the hip waders and hold your watch in the air because the shit's getting deep. And it continually gets worse. And we have 9 days left to election. So I'm hoping this goes the way it should go. And this kind of dies down a little bit, but I don't think that's going to happen either. I think it's just going to continually going, especially if he wins. It's going to get ridiculous. It's going to be just a joke. Just a joke. So remember, Election Day is 9 days away. I've got notes. I'm not ignoring you. I'm looking down at my notes. It's 9 days away. Bring 10 people with you to vote. At least 10 people. We need to, like I tell you every week, and ignore the media, ignore the talking heads, ignore anything you read anywhere. Even if it says Trump's a shoo and he can't lose, or he's already lost, there's no way he can win, ignore that. You need to vote. You need to bring as many people with you to vote as you can. If you live locally, I've been saying it for a couple months, and you need a ride to your polling station, let me get a hold of me, and I'll take you. And if I can't get there, we'll find somebody who can get you there, but we'll get you there to vote. It's that important. We can't sit back any longer and wait and hope and depend on others to do what we need to do. Your vote is one of the most powerful ways to shape the future of our community and our country and the world. Let's be realistic. We are the leader of the free world. Each vote is a voice contributing to decisions on key issues that impact our daily lives, from healthcare, education, and to civil rights. In close races, a small number of votes can change the outcome, meaning that individual votes truly matter. Voting also strengthens democracy by ensuring that elected officials reflect the values and needs of the constituents. By voting, you're not just casting a ballot, you're taking an active role in creating the society you want to live in. That's how important voting is. Get everybody out there to vote. If you have small kids, bring them with you so they can see how the process works. Get them involved young so they understand how important this is. That this is just not, oh, we got to go vote. I guess I'll go. The polling place is so far away. I got to stand in line and yada, yada, yada. Let them know it's important. People have died for them to have that right. It's very important. Shouldn't be ignored and shouldn't be looked at as less than. It's very important. Where I live, here in Frederick County, Maryland, there was a rule that was sponsored by a liberal councilman, Jerry Donald, who one of the amendment admitted to limit the amount time farm buildings could be used for agro-tourism to 120 days per year. So if you own a farm and you have like a barn and you do stuff in there and people come there to see it, agro-tourism, he wants to say you can only do it 120 days out of the year. Doesn't matter if it's your property or your building. We're only going to let you do it 120 days a year in Frederick County. The purpose of the bill, this is from the moron, Jerry Donald. The purpose of the bill is to clarify when and how an agricultural building can be used for public uses in accordance with the agritourism enterprise definition. He said, so we're talking about buildings, not the entire operation. Who is he to tell anybody how they can use anything on their property? I mean, really, we've gotten to the point where liberals think they can just run the show now because we've let them do it. Frederick County is a joke anyway. The Republicans here have all been neutered. They've got the IQ of a flip-flop and just go along to get along. That's why people like Jerry Donald can pass these stupid laws or amendments and they get voted in unanimously. Remember, that amendment here was voted in unanimously. Nobody disagreed. A second bill, sponsored by the same moron, Councilman Jerry Donald, would put restrictions on some agritourism activities, such as fruit and vegetable cannons, fireworks, and amplified music. Councilman Donald introduced an amendment to limit the number of fire pits on one property to no more than 20, and they could not be located within 500 feet of a property line. Again, who is this man to think that he has any say on how someone runs their property, as long as they're not hurting people and they're not doing anything illegal? And having a fire pit, last time I checked, isn't illegal. Who is he to tell anybody? Or who is the council to tell anybody what you can and can't do on your property? Again, as long as you're not hurting anybody. But they feel that they can. And I think the only person that voted against that amendment was the council vice president. Now, the First Amendment passed unanimously. The Second Amendment passed with one dissenter. There are two Republicans on the county council. Yeah, and they voted for both bills. That's what we call a rhino. That's why I read the definition of a Republican. And let's look at it again, because remember, Republicans are all about limited government, limited regulation of business, limited regulation of industry. And everything they just did is not limited at all. They're taking over, saying, hey, you can only have 20 fire pits in your yard. You can't have that building running for tourism more than 120 days out of the year. Can't have fruit cannons. Can't have anything like that because we say so. And 2 Republicans agreed with that and voted for it. Steve McKay and Mason Carter are the 2 Republicans on the council that agreed that they should have a say over how people run their lives and what they do to make money and how they run their property. They felt that was acceptable for them. And they're Republicans, or they say they're Republicans. So that's why I keep saying, educate yourself on candidates. Stop being a whore to the letter after somebody's name, R or D. Educate yourself on the candidates and find out for yourself what they stand for. Because a lot of people were sucked into voting for those 2 guys. I hope they're not sucked in again to voting for them next time around. I hope they see them exactly for what they are. Rhinos, more concerned with getting invited to the parties and getting their face in the newspaper and being interviewed than they are about doing the right thing. These people need to go. And if you live in Frederick County, Maryland, and you want to run for an office, please contact me. I will help you and put you in touch with people who will give you money and advertise you and get you out there, because these 2 people got to go. McKay and Carter are done. I don't know how many people I've talked to in this county that are done with them both and can't wait till they can vote them out. Of course, the rhinos and the local parties or the local clubs and the Central Committee love them because they too are also rhinos and have done nothing to further Donald Trump or anybody else that doesn't kiss their ring. Like the saying is in Frederick County, the Republicans can throw one hell of a Christmas party, but can't get somebody elected to save their lives. And that's pretty sad. Can't make this stuff up. These are Republicans voting against property owners, against farmers, against people whose livelihoods depend on this. And they're telling them what they can and can't do because they can. Because, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And you're seeing it here. This is a prime example of stupidity run amok because people don't want to get involved, or they vote for somebody they like. Oh, he's a friend of mine. He's a nice guy. And that goes across the nation for everywhere. Stop being sucked in by appearance and start looking for ability. Listen to what people say and then see what they do. And if it corresponds, that's great. But I'm telling you, if you watch, very few people do what they say they're going to do. They say what they're going to do because they know it impresses you. And a lot of people out there are easily impressed. So please educate yourself on the candidates, no matter where you're at. Even if they're Republican and you like them, take 20 minutes and look into them. See what they really are about. See what they've done. See if they've done anything they said they have. Because we're in a time now where just because there's an R after somebody's name does not mean they're Republicans anymore. We cannot trust that. I mean, look at the Republicans attacking Trump, saying they're not going to support him. I mean, they're all over the place. So please, don't assume just because somebody has an R after their name that they are Republicans. Because you might find out the hard way they're not. Like these morons in Maryland, if they elect Larry Hogan, they're going to find out he's not a Republican. And the whole time he's been telling them he's not a Republican, he hasn't been lying. He's been honest. They've just been idiots and refusing to hear what he has to say. Don't fall into that trap. So again, no matter where you live, please look at the candidates. Educate yourself on them. Make sure they align with your principles. And if they do, by all means, vote for them. But just don't assume right off the bat because I'm a Republican and they're a Republican, I'm voting for them because they know it. They feel the same way about me as I do about things. They might not. So just take the time to look into them. Odds have it, if they're Republican, more often than not, yes, they're going to align with your principles and you're going to agree with them. My rule of thumb is 90%. If I agree with a candidate 90% or more, they've probably got my support unless they do something ridiculous and then they lose that. So 90, you set your own bar. I'm not telling you have to do it 90. That's what I do. And very rarely will you not find somebody you align with that much? And if you don't, then don't vote. That's another thing. Don't vote. Undervote. Because if you undervote, that tells the party that the candidate they put up is crap. And you're not supporting them, and you're not supporting the party anymore until they start putting up viable candidates. Candidates with the ability to do the job that they're running for. Candidates that are honest, that aren't disingenuous, that aren't trying to play both sides against each other. You have to hold the party accountable. If you don't, we'll keep getting idiots like Larry Hogan and all the other morons that are running as a Republican because we don't hold the party's feet to the fire anymore. That's like, if you do that, you're not a Republican anymore. Remember, if they aren't about smaller government, less regulation, and they don't oppose abortion, affirmative action, gun control, or policies and laws that are viewed as challenging the traditional social and family hierarchies and structure, they are not Republican. That is the definition of a Republican. There's no way around it. Larry Hogan supports abortion. He's not a Republican. It doesn't say they don't, if they support this but not that, it's okay. There's a list of things. He's anti-gun. A lot of these rhinos out here are all, maybe a couple more regulations won't hurt. Maybe a few more background checks won't hurt. That's not a Republican. That's a Democrat. That's a liberal. Larry Hogan has said time and time again, he wants to make Roe versus Wade the law of the land again. That's not a Republican platform. That's a liberal platform. There are other candidates who said they're not going to support Donald Trump if he gets elected. That's not a Republican platform. That is a Democrat platform. And people say, well, these candidates have done good stuff in the past. Larry Hogan's lowered taxes. Other candidates, passed laws that did this and that. Even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while. Just because you do one thing right and then do 95,000 things wrong doesn't make that one right thing more important than everything else you've done. Educate yourself. These politicians are banking on the fact that you won't take the time to read about them and look at them or even ask them questions when you hear them speaking. They're banking on that. They are firmly in the belief that America's become a microwave society. We want it now. And it's me. They're banking on that. They know you won't take the time. They're hoping you won't take the time to look into them. They're hoping you won't take the time to go when they speak to ask them questions because that'll take time. And we don't have time. Time is a commodity we can't make more of. Once it's gone, it's gone. They know it, you know it, and they bank on you being so consumed with that you're not going to look into them and just give them your vote because, hey, I'm a Republican, you're a Republican. Vote for me. So please, I'm begging you, look into every candidate you want to support. Doesn't make you a bad Republican. It makes you a good Republican. More importantly, it makes you a good human being who's applying principles and thought and common sense into a pretty important decision rather than rushing out like most morons do and just going R, D. Don't be like them. Those are the same people who probably ate paint chips growing up because no one said it was bad. It seems like, and I'm not the only one that's doing this, everybody on this network is trying to tell you all, and I'm not, and when I say you all, I mean in general, you all, not you. We're trying to explain that we're not trying to change your mind. We're not trying to force you to vote for anybody. What we're trying to do is to get you to think for yourself, to look into candidates for yourself. Stop listening to what the media says. Stop listening to what they say and start looking what they do or what they've done. Educate yourself, please. That's all we're asking you to do. And if you put in your due diligence, if you really look at the candidates running for president, for example, and you really don't have to waste that much time doing it. After 10 minutes, you're going to know just based on what you see and what has been in the past. It's like there's only one candidate that's really going to do anything to try to help us, and that's Trump. Yeah, he's not polished. Yeah, he says some off-the-wall stuff. Yeah, he can be arrogant. I don't care. When he was in office, things were good. Weren't perfect, they were good. Camilla's been in office with Biden for the last 4 years, and it's like a dumpster fire. There's nothing really good going out of it. She's never told you any of her policies. The policies she's talked about have been policies Trump said he was going to do that now she says she's going to do. I mean, come on. How can you take her serious? And number two, if you're a Democrat, did you vote for her in the primary? Did you want her as your candidate? Does that not bother you that they just ignored your will and said, no, we're going to do it this way and you're going to like it? I mean, most Democrats do. They lock step with their party. But if you think about it for a minute, if you're a Democrat, apparently your opinion doesn't matter. What you want doesn't matter. It's what the party wants. And they're just going to shove it down your throat whether you want to have it or not. And if you don't like it, well, that's just too bad. All right. Bill time. Let me do one more and then we're done. And then we can just talk.
A movement that transcends politics. A vision for a stronger, united America. Built on the belief that financial empowerment and political engagement can come together. Introducing the Trump token, America's cryptocurrency, a digital currency that embodies the spirit of innovation and the strength of American values. With a pledge to donate significantly towards Donald Trump's 2024 campaign, America's cryptocurrency. Coming soon. Visit thetrumptoken.com to learn more.
Trump. And I don't know much about cryptocurrency. I'm not even going to try to lie and go, hey, it looks like a good deal. You should get it. I don't understand it. I'm old fashioned. If I can't hold it in my hands or see it, it scares me. It doesn't really scare me, but you understand what I mean. So yeah, I just put that up. Remember, vote for Trump. And again, I'm not telling you that you have to. I'm saying if you do your due diligence, you're going to come to that conclusion on your own on November 5th and bring 10 people to vote with you, at least 10. If you can bring 20, bring 20. If you can bring 100, bring 100. If you bring 100 people to vote with you, I will take you out for a beer or two or three. Seriously, if you get that many people to come vote with you, you are my superhero and you will have my undying respect. It's that important. That important we all get out there. Don't wait for the wave. Don't wait. No, get 10 people, go vote. It's super important. If you're watching on Rumble, hit like. I think you only hit it once. You can't hit it multiple times. If you can hit it more than once, hit it more than once. But if you only hit it one time, hit it one time. That's fine. I can live with that. But hit it. More likes we get, the bigger we're heard. The more people that can hear us, the bigger our voice comes, and the more we can do to get the word out. So try to do that. That would be great. I don't know if you saw this. This is kind of weird. A World Series attendee appears to wear a Make America Great hat. I guess she was behind home plate. And it sparks wild social media reactions. People are upset. They thought hate speech was illegal. And you couldn't wear stuff that would incite violence into public areas like that. Blah, blah, blah. I can't imagine being such a weak person that seeing a hat sets me off. I would be embarrassed if it did. I wouldn't tell anybody that I'm so hurt by words on embroidered on a hat that I'm demanding it be removed from the stadium and it shouldn't be shown on TV. I would cease calling myself a man at that point. I would. Make America great. And you get offended. And you get upset and you demand it and you're appalled. Some people on Twitter were appalled by that. And it's just fascism. I mean, really? Make America great again sets you off like that? There are people like that. That's the scary thing. I mean, we sit here and we laugh about that kind of thing. It's funny because it is funny. But deep down inside, we should be concerned by that. That those types of people should concern us. Because most of those people are in positions of authority that can do things that we really can't. And it's frightening. And those people have children. And they're raising their children to be just as, I don't want to say the word, just as weak and feeble as they are. Some of these people are teachers, and they're in front of our children, teaching them the same weak and feeble things that they're espousing on, social media about words that have offended them. I can't. I don't understand. How do they go through life? How do they go through their everyday life if a hat sets them off? It's ridiculous. But yeah, apparently it was that important. It made the news, and people are all over X about it, whining and crying. And just acting like fools. I mean, that's what they are. They're fools. We need to ridicule them. We need to laugh at them publicly, point at them and go, you're a joke. You're a clown. You're a clown. Words hurt you that much. You're a clown, and you should probably just wrap yourself in bubble wrap and sit in your basement and never come out again, because it's nobody's job not to offend you. It's really that simple. That's my opinion on that. And I hope you feel the same way. I mean, these people are morons. End of the day, they're morons. But they're being heard. People are putting them on the news. They can spew their BS to everybody that'll listen to them, that how offensive the hat was. And it ruined the game. All sorts of things. Just asinine things. We need to stop acquiescing to 1% of the population that will never be happy. They're always going to be miserable. No matter what goes on, they're going to find some reason to be miserable. We need to stop patting them and carrying them and telling them everything's going to be all right, and just tell them to shut up. Suck it up, princess. Put on a helmet and get in the game. It's really that simple. My pronouns are them and they. I don't give a shit. Those are your pronouns, not mine. Don't ask me to play your game with you, because I'm not. You don't play mine. I'm not playing yours. My hat offends you. Your pronouns offend me. It's that simple. So if you can't accept my hat, I can't accept your make-believe Middle Earth gender. Not going to do it. So get over it. We need to start pushing back. We just can't sit by anymore and let these people dictate to us how it's going to go, or that's not a boy, that's a girl, things like that. We just need to push back. I'm so tired of hearing these morons get airtime. I'm surprised it was on Fox News. I'm surprised Fox News even put that on there. Why? I'm not in charge of Fox News, so I have no say in what Fox News does, which is a good thing, because that wouldn't have been on Fox News if I were in charge. So like I said, the election's in 9 days. So I want to share my perspective with you on the upcoming election. And again, this is my perspective. You don't have to agree with it. You can tell me to kick rocks or pound sand or whatever it is you tell people to do when you don't want to listen to them. Just my opinion. Okay, so the last 4 years, from a conservative perspective, those past 4 years have highlighted challenges that, for many, seem to have only intensified. Government spending has surged, contributing to record national debt levels and creating an uncertain economic future for our children and grandchildren. Inflation has weakened the buying power of everyday Americans, making it harder to afford the basics like groceries, gas, housing. And instead of fostering policies that promote fiscal responsibility and economic growth, some argue that the current government, and I don't argue, I say this, the current government has overreached and has hurt small businesses and stifled individual opportunity. Go to the grocery store. You got to be rich to eat almost now. It's not feasible. I mean, I would say I'm lower middle class, and I'm struggling hard. Nothing is easy anymore. Especially, well, we'll get at that another time. Law and order, the cornerstone of stable communities, has also come under strain. Many conservatives feel that an erosion of support for law enforcement has led to an increase in crime and a sense of insecurity in neighborhoods across the nation. It's true. I'm not saying here, I didn't say anything here that's not the truth. Additionally, Additionally, education systems are seen by some as straying from core principles, prioritizing ideological agendas over fundamental skills, leaving students unprepared for a competitive job market or the real world. These challenges have left conservatives calling for a return to policies that emphasize limited government, personal responsibility, and traditional values to help restore strength and stability. Like I said, the definition of a Republican. Conservatives have also observed increasing restrictions on freedom of speech and personal liberties over the last 4 years. Many feel that censorship, whether from government policy or corporate tech giants, Facebook, has stifled open discourse and silenced voices that don't align with certain mainstream narratives. It's truth. For those who believe that free speech is a fundamental American right, as I do, this growing trend represents a dangerous threat to democracy itself. Immigration issues have continued to present concerns, with many conservatives pointing to policies they feel lack accountability, placing strains on border communities, national resources, and local economies. There's a belief that without strong enforceable immigration policies, the safety and security of American citizens are compromised. They are. They are. Additionally, the growth of bureaucratic red tape has left many Americans feeling distanced from their own government. Shocking. I know. I can't believe I said this. From health mandates to regulatory burdens, some conservatives argue that unelected officials are wielding increasing power over everyday decisions, weakening the autonomy of individuals and communities. For many, these issues underscore the need for a recommitment to limited government, individual freedoms, and personal accountability as the path forward to a more prosperous, stable, and united country. Yeah, like we shouldn't be telling farmers how many fire pits they can have on their property, or how long they can use their building for tourism. We should have no say in that. We should have no say in any of that. But that's what you get when you vote for rhinos. For many conservatives, these past years have reinforced that straying from core principles like personal responsibility, limited government, and individual freedoms only deepens the challenges we face. I argue that America was built on the strength of the people, not the power of the government, and that true progress will only come when leaders empower citizens to thrive independently, protect the nation's borders, and safeguard our constitutional rights. Now, more than ever, there is a call to restore these values, reignite American resilience, and ensure that future generations inherit a nation defined by freedom, opportunity, and unity. We all know that only one candidate will work towards that and will support us in those endeavors, and that's Trump. So vote accordingly. That's all my opinion. Again, you don't have to subscribe to it. You don't have to agree with me. And if you don't, please reach out and tell me why. Well, it's getting to that time. Again, thank you for coming out. I know you have other things to do with your time, so it's immensely appreciated that you do come out. Please share this with everybody you know. Share it with people you don't know. The more our voices are heard, the louder it is, and the more they can't ignore us. The less they can ignore us. I'm sorry. Also, remember you have the base mother, 2 guys and 1 coup, Alexandra 360, Maurice, Eddie, a bunch of other people on this network who are just trying to get you to think. That's all we're trying to do. We're not trying to sway your opinion. And I know what I just read says vote for Trump, but again, that was my opinion. We just want you to think for yourself. Break off of that party line. Don't concern yourself with Republican, Democrat. Right, wrong, good, bad, evil, not evil. It's really that simple. Don't put a party with any of that. Use your head. You're smart people. You're very smart people. I got faith that you'll make the right decision. So yeah, if you're on Rumble now, hit like. If you're watching this later, hit like. Excuse me. On the Patriot Prayer Network on X, on Rumble, you can see all the old shows, things like that. You can reach me at CoServe Seth on X. You can also get me on Facebook at The Conservative Corner. I don't do much on Facebook anymore. There we go. Conservative Corner, or The Patriot's Prayer. Also on Facebook, The Conservative Corner. You can send me messages there, ask me questions. If you don't follow or like me on X, please do. Have your friends do the same. Same thing with Facebook. If you're not following me or watching me on there, you can. I do put some stuff up there once in a while, but they've really restricted me, so most people aren't getting what I put out there anymore. And it doesn't surprise me. Zuckerberg's a manhole, and if you've watched my show before, you know what a manhole is. But yeah, watch everybody on the Patriots Prayer Network, and listen to what they're saying. Is nothing more than trying to get you to think. We're not trying to change your mind or do your thinking for you. We just want you to think. And like I said, you all will. Again, thank you for hanging out with me tonight on Sunday. I truly appreciate it. It's humbling. I will be back next Sunday at 7 o'clock. And then election evening, I'll be on from 6 to 7, kind of covering what's going on, and we're going to be passing it off to all the other hosts that evening. But as we get closer to that, there'll be more information put out about that. So again, this is Seth Eisenberg. I keep forgetting. This is a conservative quarter. And remember, if you vote principle over party, you will never make a bad decision, and you can walk out of the polling place with your head held high. Y'all have a good week.